I mean, the government is not really doing a good job when it comes to fighting inflation. Although the central bank, different entity, supposed to be completely different, individual entity from the government, can't have any other influence from the government. The central banks around the world have been doing a good job tightening markets. As you probably already know, higher interest rates, tightening in the monetary system, taking money out of the system, etc., yields going up, mortgage rates going up. I mean, the central bank's doing everything it can to basically tighten credit, tighten the banking sector, and tighten the markets out there. But what's going on? What is happening currently, especially when you see inflation still up in certain sectors? When you look at the CPI, Consumer Price Index report, especially when you still look at, the core components, when you look at food and shelter, they're still sticky and they're still high up there. Is it the government to be blamed for? Is it the COVID situation? Is it the supply chain issues? What's going on? We have all this tightening that's been happening. Well, before I get into this, my name is Daniel. I run an organization called InforVest. InforVest is an organization that promotes financial literacy, teaches you about the economic theories out there, relates it with stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, crypto, try to tie it up all together and launch it out in video format just like this. If you like content like this, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the bell icon to be notified on the next video, and leave a comment below if you have any suggestions for future videos. Now, to get into it, I'm talking about fiscal policy. Fiscal policy comes from the government, not from the central bank. Central bank conducts monetary policy. The government does fiscal policy, and what we've been seeing, especially in the US and certain states, for example, like California, been pumping up a lot of money out there to their citizens in forms of rebates and helps and etc. To help citizens with this inflation crisis. But that just adds more fuel to the fire. It doesn't create a better situation. It doesn't make the situation better for the economy, for the people out there. So on one hand, on the monetary side, you have rates going up. The banks are tightening. The credits are tightening. Credit conditions are tightening. Banks are less likely to go out and lend, even though the banks are not the ones that are pushing the money out there and saying, hey, go out there and spend and go bananas. But it's coming from the government side of things where they continue to say, here you go. Here's some money there. Here's some money there. And here's some stimulus. And don't forget us, because we got elections coming up in a year's time. Next year, you've got the next presidential candidate, could be Republican, could be Democrat, right? And this happens to be, well, we still got a year's time for it, but as we approach two elections, you will see more of this stimulus, more of this money pumping from the government. And that's not making the inflation situation better. So on one hand, you have solution from the monetary side, which the monetary side has been completely shut off when it comes to any money printing or pumping. You did see that in 2020, 2021, but now you still have printing, not printing, but the pumping and the stimulus from the fiscal side. And that's what's keeping inflation, you could say, not completely 100%, but it is what is keeping it afloat. There's still other factors out there, but it's still keeping it afloat and making it tougher for the central bank to fight inflation, because their mandate, their goal, as it says in their statement and on their website, to create price stability. When you're trying to create price stability, it means fighting inflation, bringing inflation. Where's price stability? Price stability is when inflation's at 2%. Right now, inflation is not at 2%. And you have certain components, one of the most important components out there, like shelter, like rent, food, things that you and I rely on, continue to be sticky and high up there. So as the central bank continues to hike and hike and hike, try to fix the problem with inflation, even though this side of the table is totally fine when it comes to the tightening, the other side is more fiscal and is pumping money, and that side should be contained, but it's not. So you see, the problem is coming from the fiscal side, not from the monetary. Monetary is doing everything that it can, and it's creating damages, and who knows what, it's going to create more damages, even though the problem's not coming from the monetary side, the problem's coming from the fiscal side. So it's like you have a medicine. Let's say, for example, you've got a wound here, and I tell you, hey, take cough syrup to fix your problem. So you take cough syrup, but guess what? You're still bleeding. That's not going to solve your problem. So you got to maybe get your arm checked out from the doctor, get stitches, have some pain medicine, and so on to fix the wound. So you see, you're using the wrong medicine there. You're using a type of medicine that is not really controlling the problem. So that's why you hear certain economists, and even just recently, John Taylor basically say that, hey, the fiscal side's got to control their spending. Because if they keep doing this, one, yes, inflation continues to be sticky, and two, they will run out of money. And it'll be a very big problem. And it makes you think, okay, what is the central bank going to do? They're going to run to the central bank. Obviously, that's what the government's going to do. They're going to run to the central bank and say, okay, hey, give us money. But then if they're doing all this tightening, and they're supposed to be independent. And we heard from Jerome Powell saying, Jerome Powell got a lot of questions about the fiscal side of things and what the government's doing. And Jerome Powell keeps saying, not my problem, not my problem, not my problem. Makes me really, really wonder and worries me that if the spending completely comes to an end, they run out of money, they run to the central bank, will the central bank say, sorry, can't do anything? And will that bring in defaults and this whole scare? Or will the central bank say, okay, fine, here's some money temporarily? Majority of the times they come out to rescue the government and pump some money. And if they do that, guess what? You're creating more fuel to the fire. And that's why Jerome Powell said that, hey, inflation's going to be higher for longer, which means that it's going to be sticky, which means that rates are going to be higher for longer. So we don't see inflation coming down very soon because, all of these other factors that are happening. And if inflation is not coming down very soon, it's going to be sticky. That means interest rates are going to be higher for a very long time. Could mean rates could be high till 2025 or so on, unless something really, 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 really breaks before that. And yes, you get inflation coming down, or a big credit event, or it might be commercial real estate and whatnot, and it just trickles into everything else, and then inflation completely collapses. But if it doesn't, the economy continues to be resilient, data continues to be resilient, then guess what? Higher for longer, and that's what a lot of people are going to live with until inflation comes down or until something truly breaks. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers. Bye.